The company stems from a lot of the work that we've done in the past companies, even back to Gold and Predator and gold in the Yukon, looking at ISR, trying to take more benign chemistry, just like the benign process of ISR, into the future to recover metals in a much more environmentally and economically safe manner. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of commodities, uranium, gold, copper, the list goes on. Many of these have been recovered through alternate means, and we're going to be pursuing that. That was done largely in other countries. They're very far ahead of us in terms of this technology and aren't particularly good at sharing it, but we're making good advances, so hope to share that. First thing we've been operating is Group 11, which is indicative of certain elements in the periodic table. We will be changing that in short order to Manhattan Metals Corp. And you will see references throughout the presentation to Group 11. Usual cautionary statement. And here are our alternate solutions. We're concentrating on three major aspects. First is conventional mill recovery. In the Yukon, we actually pioneered the use of different lixiviants rather than using cyanide, which is very cumbersome. We were able to, probably hard to see here, so I'll try and flash it in the light, but we produced our own coins with Aboriginal or Indigenous art on them, a program that Janet had initiated. Very successful. We had no toxic effluents from the mill whatsoever, and just demonstrated that actually the chemicals we were using were more efficient, and they were iodine-based, but it was more efficient in a mill environment than cyanide, quicker, and you can recycle it. The other thing that we're concentrating on, especially with the wealth of talent that we've got at Encore, which is one of the founding companies I would mention of Manhattan Metals, is expanding the in situ recovery applications to other metals. Now, you're probably familiar with uranium and copper. I believe we have a copper company here that's using ISR, which is a great breakthrough. But the Russians have been using ISR to recover scandium, rare earths, gold, silver. Approximately 15 to 20% of the periodic table has now been recovered somewhere on Earth through ISR. Oftentimes that's been with the use of perhaps not the best chemistry. So we're looking at alternate lixiviants in that, also in designs to perhaps attack different types of geologic formations that people have not normally associated with ISR. Third on the list is to continue R&D into just a broad topic of superior metal recovery, byproduct recovery from existing ISR streams. Obviously that's very key to Encore, and we're very interested in that. If we can improve our economics by extracting one of the other elements that's of value in our stream, that'll be ideal. So we continue to look at that, and this vehicle is what we do that through. Just a little bit, you can see the gravity mill that we had in the Yukon there on the left, the initial site work. Here again, we were getting very good recovery, about 67% just out of gravity, and our number one and number two cons, we wanted to get it all. So we went with the alternate lixiviant. Simply involved posting an MSDS sheet on the door. That was the entire amount of additional permitting for the final stage, as the chemicals being used were actually human nutrients, not hazardous to anyone's health. You can see the unit that we used. This was a test unit, very small. Obviously, this will be ramped up as we put it into more larger applications. And then here again, many of the chemicals that we've used, in general, you're trying to oxidize the ore. And many of these, the same thing we do in uranium is oxidize the uranium so that we can recover it, change it from +4 to +6 uranium, so it's soluble. Well, some of these very same chemicals, oxygen's obviously a great oxidant. Many of the toxics are, but there's so many organic oxidants out there. There's so many other common elements that are oxidants that have not been tried in ISR uranium that's another place we'll be looking to move forward. And we do have permitted ground to work on through Encore. With the gold test results, here you can see maybe a little bit better picture of some of the native art that we show on the gold coins, along with the golden staircase rendition from the Yukon over the famous Yukon gold rush many years ago. Basically, this is the progress I've already told you about. We used water-based chemistry, recyclable, and we're able to recover the gold. We also completed 11 different tests in terms of moving on to ISR applications of gold in the US, and I'll go into a bit of that here very quickly. Here you can see the recovery profile of, and this is a simplistic thing, it's not really iodine, it's iodine-based, so we aren't going to give you the exact chemical formula for it, but I'll give you an idea anyway, far superior to the cyanide in terms of time and recovery. And you can see we check off a lot of the boxes there in terms of the non-toxic, environmentally responsible approach. We're not the only ones in the business trying to do this, but we've been doing it for a while, and we think we've got a bit of a key advantage, especially in terms of testing facilities and proprietary know-how. Our first test at ISR was done actually at the Rattlesnake Hills in Wyoming. And we took solid HQ core, and demonstrated that we could get up to 50% recovery using environmentally friendly, non-toxic chemistry, simply leaching it out of or soaking it in the solutions and recovering the gold. The ramifications of that are great. If you can recover 50% through ISR of gold, it is far more economic, almost certainly, than 90 or 95% through conventional mining. Moving water is infinitely cheaper than moving rock. To give you a very valid comparison, your high-grade uranium mines up in the basin in Athabasca typically run teens of percent, up to 40% uranium. We're competitive on price by mining 0.05% or up to 0.1% uranium in the US through solution mining. Simple fact of the matter is it cuts down on your permitting because your reclamation is only a small fraction. Your CapEx is lower. Your operating and sustaining capital much lower. You can kind of look at it like a giant ocean tanker that's not particularly maneuverable, and comparing it to a PT boat. They have a very difficult time during bad economics of slowing down or shutting down their production because they have such a huge maintenance budget. ISR is not that way. We can simply, I say simply, nothing simple about any of this or we'd all be doing it. But it's certainly a whole lot simpler in terms of modifying and reacting to market pressures. And largely, the more holes you drill, the more you increase your ISR production. So that's a big factor. One thing we are looking into is a regional mill opportunity in Nevada. Here again, we plan to use the same exact formula we used in the Yukon and beyond. We'll start with the same chemistry we did to recover all of the gold that's recoverable. Here again, you may see in bold letters, high-grade gold and silver, no cyanide. Well, this makes it obviously much more preferable. It's a tried and true process. We'll be looking to ramp up. The property we had in the Yukon was 50 tons a day. We'll be looking at something between 4 and 8 times that large in Nevada, and we are in negotiations on that. So no assurances, but certainly the direction we're going, and there are several of these opportunities. I'd also point out the economic returns here. If you have a 5,000-ton deposit at 1 ounce per ton sitting in Nevada, and you're paying $2,000 a year just maintenance to keep the claims, what is that worth? Even today at $5,000 gold, it's worth minus $2,000 a year because you can't process it. You're just paying money to keep it. And it's so small you can't build a mill for it. It just doesn't make economic sense. So the opportunity with Nevada being the 5th or 6th most well-endowed gold district in the world, to take these small high-grade deposits and run them through a central mill is phenomenal. It's always been an attractive proposition, but at current metal prices, it's beyond expectations, beyond anything. We also have a number of our own gold and silver projects, and I'd mention these. Most of these are in Pershing County, northwest Nevada. Most of them are in the Highcroft Rosebud Belt, and you can see a couple of the really good ones. Lantern there. This one does have a historic resource on it. We'll be looking to increase that, but you can see it does have some high-grade intercepts, up to 10 grams per ton gold. And these are over intercepts in core and reverse circulation. And also silver. I was actually there when we drilled the 4,700 gram per ton over about 15 or 20 feet. So it's a gold-silver epithermal vein deposit, lots of potential, especially at current gold prices. You can see some of our other properties as well. 480 gram per ton, 11 gram per ton gold in 2 different core holes, 2,500 feet apart. Granted, those are at about 1,000 to 1,500 feet, but nonetheless, a lot of work that can be done there. Clayton Ridge, small resource, ideal for taking through a small regional mill. And there's a nice 8-foot wide, 7-foot wide feeder vein sitting underneath it that runs 3/4 of an ounce. So, you can see, I'm not going to read them all to you, but we have quite a few other spectacular properties to work on, both in terms of the ISR aspects, as well as the high-grade mill feed. There are environmental and economic advantages to ISR. I'm not going to go through these. Be glad to talk to you afterwards about it. And the uranium test products, I touched on this earlier, we'll be using various types of oxidants that are non-toxic to try and improve our positions in terms of uranium. And real quickly, in uranium, we inject gaseous oxygen, but you have to have 80 to 100 feet of water on top of the sandstone with the uranium in it to keep the oxygen from bubbling off. So what we're looking at now are longer-lasting oxidants that we can use in areas where we don't have nearly that much water coverage and we don't have that much hydrostatic pressure. So we can contain the oxidant, make it longer lasting to recover ore that previously has not been recoverable through the ISR process.